Hey, this is Zach Human, and you're watching QUEST.TV.
I'm Kevin Schuker, and this is QUEST.TV. We're here at the Raw Spirit Festival in sunny Sedona, Arizona, and we're nestled here amongst the beautiful red rocks at the Radisson El Diablo Resort. And this is a Saturday, and there's a lot of great stuff going on. Over here, over my left shoulder, you can see we have the Raw Spirit main stage. We have a musical performer at the moment, and there's a lot of workshops going on here and music going on throughout the day and through the evening, and everybody seems to be having a great time. And if we pan over here to the right, we can see that we have a dome over here, and this is another workshop area where we can get a little sneak peek inside. You can see everybody sitting there waiting for the next workshop leader to appear. So we're having a great time here. There's lots of people, 2,000-3,000 people, great food, great atmosphere, great energy. And I'm Kevin Schuker, and I'm having a great time here at the Raw Spirit Festival.
Y'all can hear us okay? Good. Well, I'm Jackie, and this is Gideon, my husband.
Good morning,
Graff
everybody.
is our last name. We're from outside of Atlanta, Georgia, and we started doing raw food basically 10 or 11 years ago.
I'd say 11
Yeah.
years ago. Let me go get the picture.
Yeah. So we started doing this 11 years ago. What really led us into it, I'll back up a little bit. We became vegetarian about 15 or 16 years ago when we discovered Gideon's cholesterol was close to 400. Now, at the time, I was a gourmet cook. I would, if a little bit of butter made it taste good, just put the whole stick in. If anybody's ever watched any of the food channels, Paula Deen, that's the way I used to cook. There was nothing that was left out of my food if it made it taste good. So I was killing him. We hadn't been married very long. I didn't want to get rid of him yet. So I knew, I'm a nurse, and I knew exactly what we had to get rid of. We had to get rid of all those things that had cholesterol in it, all the animal products. So we kept eliminating one after the other until we had eliminated all of them. And we basically were vegetarians. We did eat a little bit of cheese at the time, fat-free cheese that we made, because there was nothing out there fat-free at the time. So, and during this time, it was when everybody was saying, eat all the carbs you want, just don't eat any fat. And we were eating zero fat. Snackwell cookies, if anybody remembers those. That was a diet food. I ate a whole box. And, it was just not, we bought into it because guess what? We like sugar. And when they take out the fat, they add a lot more sugar. And so our diet was very high in sugar. Fat-free ice cream, fat-free cheese, fat-free everything. We were eating zero fat, and we kept getting fatter and fatter.
Yeah, I want to pass a picture of us from, I think it's about 12 years ago now.
Yeah.
Because every year we have to remember to add one more year to the time elapsed since we started. And this is what we looked like, and we were in our early 50s, and we didn't think there was anything wrong with us. So. Yeah.
Can everybody still hear us okay? Okay. But we were headed downhill to some disease. We both had high blood pressure, high cholesterol. We were on antidepressants. I was on estrogen and still having hot flashes, every day, really bad. What else? Arthritis. We both had a lot of early arthritis. I had carpal tunnel so bad I had to sleep in splints at night. I was considering surgery. I had sinus problems so bad I had to take Sinutabs every day, and my liver enzymes were elevated from all the Tylenol. So it was like we were not in good shape. I thought we were, quote, healthy. We were just overweight. We didn't think that we were really unhealthy because, every patient that I had were on the same medicines that we were on. So I just thought, this is just part of getting older, you just have to be on all these medicines. And the doctors would tell us that, oh, you'll have to be on blood pressure medicine the rest of your life. So luckily and unluckily, my brother had an autoimmune disease where his body recognized his nervous system as a foreign body. And so one day he would have seizures, another day he wouldn't be able to talk, one day he'd be paralyzed. So he had a lot of neurological symptoms, and he was almost totally incapacitated. Luckily, a friend of his told him that, I think a raw food diet would really help you, because the medication the doctors had given him almost killed him. And they'd only given him about 2 or 3 years to live. So, he said, well, might as well try this, it can't hurt me. He started eating the raw food diet, and in 6 months it was really a miracle. And all of his symptoms went away, and he decided to come live with us for a while because he was a violin maker and had stopped making his violin. So he came to live with us, and I told Gideon, he'd already shared how addictive cooked food was, so I said, I make really good vegetarian food, and it's probably going to make him sick if he gets off of the raw food diet. So while he's here, we'll just eat the raw food diet. It won't kill us. And, and when he leaves, we'll go back to our, quote, healthy vegetarian diet, which really wasn't very healthy. Probably the only thing that saved us was we usually ate one big salad a day. So he came to live with us, taught us all about how to do raw food. And lo and behold, we started seeing changes in us. We first of all had more energy. And just little things. One about like you peel an onion, things changed. We lost weight. We were able to get off of all of our medications, all of our blood pressure medicines, cholesterol medication. Depression goes away when you don't eat the things that make you depressed. All that sugar is very bad for depression. The hot flashes went away, so I quit taking estrogen. So it was so wonderful to be free of the medical establishment. It's a pain in the neck to have to go in and sit in the doctor's office to get all of your prescriptions refilled. So that was such a wonderful thing, and we just feel so much better. We're now in our mid-60s, and we travel around and get up early. It just is, nothing is stopping us, and I feel like this has really saved our lives, because I'm sure that by now, if we continued the way we were, we would be quite ill with diabetes, something.
Well, everybody benefits from changing their diet into a raw food diet. Whether you're an infant or even before you were born, this is the best. Mm-hmm. If you were born to a mother who's a raw foodist, you have the best chances. But we had in one of our classes last year a 93-year-old gentleman from Washington State. And he came to take our 2 days class that we taught in North Carolina. And his story was that he was actually in a wheelchair bound, taking tons of medication, considering all kinds of surgeries. And his wife was taking care of him, everything he needed, she was around to take care of him. Until one day she went off and died. And then he had to face a real problem. Now, who's going to take care of me? And he got to the conclusion, I guess I will have to take care of me. And he discovered raw food diet and started doing it. And in just about 6 months, got out of his wheelchair, got off of most medications. And when he was taking our class at that time, he was building a new home and looking for another wife. So
he had a girlfriend. I mean, to me, that's just so wonderful to hear. So it's never too late for anybody.
It's never too late. If you're in a nursing home, someone you know is in a nursing home and getting slowly more and more, incapacitated, there's still a way back for them if they're not too far gone. Yeah. And children and teenagers, I mean, what a blessing to change their diet when all of the issues that young children and school children are facing now with the ADHD, and all of the medication they're putting them on, the raw food can release it, everything. They're doing much better in school. Athletically, they're much better. Teenagers are really, I mean, you don't want to tell teenagers eat raw food diet, because if you do, you're not going to get cancer. That doesn't, register.
That didn't impress them.
But you tell them that you're not going to have any zits and no BO, that's going to work. So,
and you can run faster and jump higher, and you make better grades, and you don't have to study as hard, and you remember things better. So you focus on those things when you talk to children, things that they're interested in being better at. Because every child, I mean, you can play better. If you're a little tiny tot, you play better, you get along with your friends better. And so all these things, if you'll just impress, not talk to them, well, you won't get cancer, because children think they'll never get cancer. You know what I mean? A lot of us in here think that we will never get cancer, you know, but we have to make changes in our diet if that's to be true. I still work in a hospital. I work there. That's my reality. You know, all these reality shows on TV? Well, that's my reality show. Because I go there and I see that everything around the hall that people have could be, if they changed their diet, they wouldn't have it. They wouldn't. We could actually shut down the drug companies, the food industry, and the hospitals. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
And they can go.
And then they come after us.
Well, they can change jobs, you know, transition into growing vegetables. That's going to be a worthy cause. Jackie has been a nurse for 40 years, taking care of really sick people. And since she hates management, all of this time she spent on the floor taking care of people. And in her 40 plus years of being a nurse, she never had to take care of a vegan.
Yeah,
And it's
never.
something- Very few vegetarians, but never a vegan.
And the reason I know that is, you know, in the history of a patient, they mention everything about them. Sometimes what they do for a living, you know, their medicines that they're on, the whole system review. But they never say one thing about what kind of food they eat. And this has always interested me, especially in the elderly that have been fairly healthy and maybe just broke a bone or something, you know, if you get to be 90 years old and you have a fever from an upset stomach, you know, that's why you're in the hospital. So I always question these people to find out, you know, their activity, what they did, and what kind of food they ate. And most of them were minimal eaters. Maybe they didn't eat a whole lot of the right things to eat, but they didn't eat a whole lot of food. And this is one thing, people that pig out all the time, they're generally going to have, you know, health issues. Whether they're fat or thin, you know, they're just putting too much of the toxins in. And so that's one of the strains that I see, and usually they ate lots of fruits and vegetables, and many of them had their own gardens. So it was sort of a trend I saw, you know, in questioning these people. So we just need to get back to the way things used to be done. And I would say, you know, if you haven't started on a raw food diet yet, or you're just dabbling in it, the things to really get out of your diet completely would be sugar, all the white things, white flour, white sugar, the bad fats, get the bad fats out, get all animal products out. I think they're very toxic, no matter whether they're grown, you know. If you, what was it? There's
a guy you need to go see, Dean Martin. He has a booth here somewhere. He has like all kind of herbal essence and stuff like that. And he said when he talked to people, he says, well, those of you who believe in eating organic meat, organic chicken, free-range eggs and all of that, I got good news and bad news for you. The good news, well, you're eating organic meat and chicken, you don't have to worry about pesticides and herbicides and hormones and antibiotics. The bad news, you still have to worry about heart attack and cancer and many other diseases. So
yeah. So I mean, there is evidence. Has anybody read the China study? Yeah, very good book. I recommend everybody to get that book because it really shows. It talks about how our food industry is corrupt and how they know what's causing cancer. It's what we're eating. And you know, they say a little bit. The American Cancer Society says eat more fruits and vegetables. They don't really elaborate on it. And they'll even go as far as saying eat less animal protein. And they know that these are the things, and Colin Campbell has proven it with all these studies he did in China. And what they discovered, all these different little villages in China were, each one ate a different amount of animal protein. Some didn't eat any, some ate just a little bit. And what the thread that ran through it was the higher the animal protein, the higher the incidence of chronic diseases. And all of these diseases have a basis in inflammation. Diabetes, heart disease, arthritis, Alzheimer's, all of these things are inflammatory based diseases. It's one disease, it just happens, it hits in different parts of the body. And what you can do is being on a raw food diet it cuts down that inflammation, because when you eat cooked food, it actually, your white blood count rises and you get leukocytosis, and that causes a baseline of inflammation. So when people go on a raw food diet, that's why it works for all of these diseases. It really works well, and it cuts down that inflammation, and so you see a lot of these diseases disappearing and improving. So I think we better make some food.
Yeah, we're here to make food, not to lecture you. And we decided that for this season, hard squashes, pumpkins, and butternut squash, and so on.
So it's empowering to be able to make your own food.
Okay, so the butternut squash, this is what it looks like in the health food store. It's available organic in most organic stores, so if you can find it organic, that's going to be much better. And it's a pretty hard fruit, so you hold it like from the top and cut it all the way down into half. Then you see this part here that has the seeds, and you just take the seeds out. A regular tablespoon will do better job than that, but I didn't bring one, so I'm just getting out with the spatula.
This is one, usually I keep the skin on, but this skin is a little bitter, and so I don't leave that skin on. As a matter of fact, as you can see when we peel it, you see this orange on that, there's a little bit of this white here. I try to get all that off because that tends to be a little bitter.
Yeah, and to me the best way to peel it, you want to go a little deeper than just the skin, so it's much better to just take a paring knife.
I like the peeler better.
Yeah.
It's good to be different, you know.
But I said there's more than one way to skin a cat or a butternut squash.
Or peel a butternut squash, right. Whoa, that was good.
Yeah.
Gosh, I'm faster. I already got mine peeled.
It was
already peeled.
I got up at 5 o'clock and peeled it.
All right. So maybe while you're peeling that, I'll get started on
Yeah.
You can't cook, use the skin though, right? If it's good.
great compost. To me, you know, when you peel all that you give back to the earth, it's like tithing to the earth.
You know, what you put out will come back to you. So.
Okay, so I'm going to start adding all the ingredients for the butter. Y'all have it. It's, I think, the third thing on your recipes. And we're going to put, we've already poured out the raisin water, so we need to put some raisin water in here. And our dates, we're going to put the dates in and go ahead and blend those up. These haven't been soaked. You could soak your dates in some water too, but just you don't want to put too much water in here.
So you put water in first?
Yeah, because
Instead of what this says?
don't pay attention to what I say.
Oh, okay.
Now,
And what I want to show you is it really doesn't matter, because everything's going to go in here and get blended. What you want to do is get the hardest things to blend up first and try to get these dates blended up really well.
When you have liquid in there, it's easier to blend the hard things
Right.
that you have in there. So, and you can use, you know, the Vitamix has measurements on the side, and you can see if you need to add 2 cups, you can just look at the measurement and add 2 cups. And one more word about the Vitamix.
talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, the Vitamix, this one that we have here is the 5000. It was the first one we bought. We've since decided we really don't like it as much, and you're going to see why when we start making the pumpkin pie. It's not as strong. It has this variable in the middle, and you can start out slow and move it on up, but it's just like a rheostat on a light. It really weakens the motor, and I have found that with really thick things, like our pumpkin pie is pretty thick, and it just won't blend up. It'll be hard to blend it up. So we really don't use this one a lot in our kitchen anymore, and that's why we brought it. We sort of forgot that it's...
Well, no, we had 3. So
Yeah.
last weekend we had to go to Sarasota to teach a class, so we needed one with us. And our employees at home were making food for the store, so they needed one there. So we shipped this here a week before. So it was
But
here for the
we're going to
class.
show you what you do. Some people already have these 5000s, so I'm going to show you what you... It sort of turned out good because I can show you what you do when it's really thick and how you can chop some of your stuff up ahead. I prefer the 4500. It's cheaper, it's more powerful, and you really don't need the 2 hoppers that they say. They sell them with one's dry and one's wet, and they're interchangeable. I mean, we use the wet one for dry and the dry one for wet. So it just to save you some money and give you, I think, a better machine. We discovered it in our, when we had our cafe. None of the employees wanted to use this one because it always would cut off. Now, if your machine cuts off, you just stick it in the refrigerator to cool it down. It'll come back on. But with really thick things, you can, strain your motor.
So you recommend if you're going to use it a lot, you get the one without the thing?
Without this, yes.
Speed gauge, the other one, the 4500?
No, it doesn't have that.
But if you have the speed gauge totally turned off, like turned down,
It still is weaker, just in our experience working with
What
them.
happens is just like a light bulb. If you put a rheostat on that light bulb, even if it's turned all the way up, it's still not going to make as much light as the bulb without
Yeah.
the bulb without a
Yeah.
rheostat.
Now,
So
if
just
you
take down some power.
if you already have this, it's a good machine. You're just going to find with thicker things, and we'll show you what to do with some of those thicker things that will help you when you're straining your motor.
down the road with the machine.
Yeah.
If you are considering buying a new Vitamix, the 4500, in our opinion, is the best value.
If you're making thicker things at home, you're not in a restaurant doing high volume, could you could use your processor instead, like in most of them?
A food processor? Yeah, that's what we're going to show you, that you can chop up your stuff in the food processor and get it smaller pieces. So it'll blend up a little bit easier. Okay. I almost, I was teaching one time and I was teaching soup and I had taken this off and set it there and somebody said, "Do you use high or low?" And I just flipped it on and said high. Soup went everywhere. So it reminded me of that when it came on. Uh-oh. I hope y'all all brought plastic there. Pardon?
You said don't put the coconut butter in there, right?
We're going to wait till a little bit later to put the coconut butter. But you could. You want me to add it now? Okay, we'll do it.
Please don't add it now. Do it the best way and I'll...
Okay, so I'm going to put the butternut squash in now. Chop it up, and I won't put all of it in, just part of it. When we made it up ahead of time, this did actually blend it up fine.
Adding the butternut squash from the top while it's running makes it easier for you to chop it.
Yeah.
You have to start it.
There's another blender out there. A lot of people are using the K-Tech, and I've actually used both of them, and the reason I like this one better is for the thick things. If you're just doing smoothies and things that aren't very thick, K-Tech works fine. But when you get to really thick things, as you can see how I use this is I poke the ingredients down into the blades, because your blade is at the bottom, and if it's not turning in like so, then it won't really break up and blend up well. So we use this tamper. I've taught classes when people said, "I never knew what that thing was for," They never really used it. So it's a valuable tool, especially with thick things. And now we're going to add our spices. We're going to add curry and